We are live though. I figured we just go live, just jump straight into it.
Let's just jump straight into it. Does the mic sound all right now? Are we good?
Yeah, your mic sounds great, bro.
All right, good.
Ask the
Well,
people.
I guess we'll
How's
find out.
Greg's mic sound?
Yeah, we'll find out here very soon.
Fuck around and find out, huh? Like Jordan Poole did.
I was just listening to
Hey.
the radio right now, literally just listening to the radio. I went to my son's flag football game, and then literally, like as I was listening to it on the way, same talk. Hop in the car on the way back, same talk about this punch.
So they're still talking about it. I brought it up because I want to know people's thoughts because I view it a certain way. So what
Are you
is
sure
your thoughts?
you're asking my opinion? So my opinion, there's two different takes to it, I guess. So in football, I think it's a little bit different because it's a heavy contact sport, right? Like you're essentially you're fighting every play, whether you're making tackles or you're roughing each other up. I get it. Basketball is very physical, especially at that level. But I remember coach back in the day saying, especially in fall camp, when you haven't hit somebody from another team for 8-9 months, things get a little rowdy. Like people, like the energy's high, and he basically, like coaches back in the day would say, if you guys aren't fighting in practice, there's a problem. Like
Right.
we got issues. If you guys are not getting after it to the point where you're fighting at practice, we got problems. Now, to the extent of that, I think we have all dealt with that. You probably in more particular than I have, or linemen. It's usually D linemen and linemen, or the offensive linemen and receivers and corners, because you guys are all built the same. It's nonstop shit talk from the corner, nonstop shit talk from the receiver. Who's going to win which route, whatever it may be. And then O lineman, D lineman, same thing. Every single rep, right? There's going to be occasional running back, linebacker stuff, or occasional D lineman, quarterback chatter, whatever it may be. But when it comes down to it, those things are going to happen. It's the job of the team and those who are involved with the team to keep those things inside the locker room, right? Like to keep that type of issue inside the locker room. We all know it happens, right? But now we're in the age of like everybody puts this stuff on video, right? Like everybody has Snapchats and Instagrams and phones basically at your disposal. Like back when we played at junior college together, yes, iPhones were just coming out, but there wasn't this immediate, I got to go video Crocker and Vince Andrews fighting each other on the field and then immediately go post it to Snapchat for all my buddies to see. Like if that happened, whoever posted it is one, get out by probably captain on the team. It'd be basically before it got it to the public, it would be handled already. And I think the issue is here is you could have said that there was a scuffle, or those two teammates could have said that there's a scuffle between each other, and that might have got out, but the extent of it or the punch, the video would have never got out. So people would just have to speculate, right?
So that was initially what happened. Initially, the day before, it was announced like, oh, Draymond, or there was a scuffle. Draymond may or may not have punched Jordan Poole, right? And
Right.
somebody was like, oh yeah, he punched him or whatever. And you hear it, but when you don't see it, you don't get the full extent. So yeah, the video wasn't out yet until messy ass TMZ got involved.
Yeah, and what was it? They sell it for like, is it $2 million or what is something?
Is that how much it was?
I saw something. Now this is of course online. It was leaked that it was like $2 million for the video, or something like that. Which I think is like, if that's the case, man. Like I got some videos in my phone of some pro athletes doing stupid shit that I make a lot of money. Like Josh, I've known Josh for the last 9 years of my life. I got plenty of videos when he was younger. Like I've always told him, hey, you ever do some dumb shit? Like I got the vault right here. Like you're canceled. It's over. The Bills are sending you packing. No, not that bad. Just a little stupid shit. Mainly on the golf course though. Like Barstool would love to get a hold of it. But anyways, I think that's the problem is here is that type of stuff is typically fights are going to happen. Stupid stuff's going to happen. That's what goes on when you play team sports, and it's highly competitive. But when you got somebody else from outside the locker room leaking that stuff, like that's where the issue is. So
are you more upset with the punch or the video leakage?
I would be.
And to be real here,
it's
this
tough.
is a safe space.
I'll be real. Like I personally, I wasn't the type of dude to go just throw punches at guys. So I'm different in that manner. But I was being a quarterback. Like I just always let my play talk for me. My dad taught me that when I was younger. I didn't go up and throw punches and do this and that. Now I get it. The generations are different. Things have changed. Whatever. But like eventually, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what Poole is saying to him every single day. Maybe this is just going and going and going and going and going. And Draymond finally had enough, right? So he says, "Screw it. I'm gonna tee off on him." He pushes him. Once you push him, you're basically just opening it up for you to get clocked. I mean, if you would have never pushed him, you get in each other's face. Draymond's probably not throwing the punch. Realistically, they're gonna do the typical basketball in your face. Wait for somebody to break it up, and then you're out of there, and then maybe something happens to the locker room thereafter. But I've read random things that Poole was like kind of going in and out like every single day, just making little stuff or making jokes here and there, or just basically shit talking here and there. And he finally had enough of it. So I'm assuming he's not going to probably do that anymore. But at the end of the day, like I said, nobody would have known about this to this extent, because things like, especially in a championship locker room, this is kept pretty tight. Like this type of incident is going to be kept pretty tight, and whoever goes and airs it out, you're either going to have to deal with the captains or you're going to have to deal with management or the coach at that point, and you're probably going to be off the team unless you're a Steph Curry or a Draymond, an irreplaceable guy. But it sucks that it's not kept in house. I think Draymond regardless is going to look bad just because of the punch that came out. It wasn't just some jab. It was like this dude was teeing off, trying to take his head off his neck.
Yeah, he wanted to hurt.
And I want to see a different camera angle. We can need to see the ringside angle, the floor angle of this one.
Do you think that?
So,
do you think that you could say, "Hey, you punch him, but don't punch him too hard," or do you think it's just like?
No, I think it was just I was just thinking like he came flying in like Superman punch on him, like his Anderson Silva UFC 2009. Like this dude just came in for it. So like, but like, again, you're gonna go talk shit to a guy that runs hot a lot, and he's backed it up for the most part. I would say Draymond has backed up a lot of his talk in the league. There's, I think that he's earned the right to be the dude, but I think like what I'm really curious of is how do the guys in the locker room react, like guys like Curry or guys like Clay. How do those dudes react to it? Is it something where it's like, bro, like that was over the top type of thing, or do they just brush it under the table and say, hey, we got a season to play? Or how would a guy like Kobe handle this? Or how would a guy like Michael Jordan handle this? And I don't think nobody will really know, because again, I think when scuffles like this do happen behind the closed doors or in the locker room, in the clubhouse, whatever it may be, it's kept there. I think and nobody really knows about it.
Terrell Owens, I think he got it to boxing like Donovan McNabb or not McNabb, the linebacker. He called out the linebacker and like beat him up. God, there was a linebacker, Hughes. Well, there was a linebacker that was like a staple of the Eagles locker room, like back then.
Right.
And T.O.
And he called him out in the locker room and fought him in the locker room?
They fought him in the locker room, but it never got to like this, right? Now, we've heard the story, right, or I've heard the story since, but in the moment, a lot of times things don't get out like that. And I think originally it was just, hey, somebody got punched. But anyways, I just had to ask your opinion on it. I know we had to go off for 10 minutes, but y'all know what it is, man. Eric Crocker, Greg Panelli here, and the show isn't really called Air It Out, but we're just trying to, we're just bringing y'all this show, all right? So just know we're talking quarterbacks. We're talking Jimmy Garoppolo.
I still think we got to just drop it in the chat here and just see what people are thinking. What's brewing in their heads on what the show should be called. Hugh Douglas, is that the linebacker?
That's the linebacker, Hugh Douglas.
Yeah, there you go.
They for sure box. How's your volume? Do you have your volume up too loud? I hear a little static coming in. Just make sure you're like
Crocker,
a little bit below
you know what?
No, you sound great. You sound great. But I'm just saying I hear a little static. We're getting this situated.
We're here's the compress. I'm on the app. Like you're talking about on the app, or are you talking about
on your
the,
actual monitor
settings?
Computer? Turn your volume down, like to where you hear me. Turn that
Okay,
down.
can you hear that? Is that better?
So I hear static, I think.
Oh man, here we go.
Y'all hear that static too? Maybe I'm tripping. I could be tripping.
The Fed's tapping in. He's right. Barstool's tapping in with the Josh videos already.
Oh, I for sure hear it coming now. What are you on? What are you recording on? Are you on
I'm not recording on anything. I just get on your
No, I sent you the link. What do you use Google Chrome?
I'm on Firefox.
You need to be on Google Chrome. I promise you.
Google Chrome. Last time I did it, Google Chrome
No,
wasn't working.
get on Google Chrome. You got Google Chrome?
Yes, I do.
Here, I'm gonna send you out right now. Hold on, I'm gonna send you out right now. Just log in from Google Chrome and make sure that your volume's not. Just trust me. I went through these same things. I was going on live with like Grant Cohn, and it was like, and this stuff started coming in, but I learned like, okay, turn my volume down.
Greg out here on dial-up. Man, I got the good internet too. That's the thing. I really do have this.
Google Chrome. I'm gonna kick you out right now. I'm gonna remove you.
What do I got?
You remove yourself and then go to Google
internet.
Chrome
That's
and then come back in. All right.
Okay. Yep.
All right. So we're gonna kick Greg Panelli from the studio. All right, and he'll be back soon. But obviously, this is a show. We got some plays. I mean, I can show you on my screen right here. Hold on. We got the stuff, man. We're about to get into some real stuff. First, we got his guy, Mr. Josh Allen there. We're going to talk about, don't worry about that food right there. Don't worry about that. All right, let's get closer here. But we're going to talk about his little pop step and what kind of goes into that. And then we're going to get into some Jimmy Garoppolo stuff. All right, so I just want to show y'all that real quick. Just know we got some good, hold on. There we go. Got some good stuff scheduled for y'all today. All right, so Greg is back. All right, Greg.
Is this better?
But now it doesn't sound like your mic is on. Make sure your mic is the right mic.
Hold on.
How about this?
Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Better?
Much better. Yeah, it's good.
It's not staticky?
Not staticky. Nope.
All right, whatever. I'm done with this technology stuff. Somebody needs to do a setup here.
All right, so I know we've been on for 12 minutes. There are probably a lot of people that are like, man. But listen, we're two homies, man. We come on here, the shows that I like to do, man. I like to be relaxed, man, and things happen, things come up. But anyways, that's Greg Panelli. I'm Eric Crocker. That's a QB guru. I'm just here and I just talk.
The DB guru, QB DB. I don't like to call it. I don't take the QB guru thing, but that's what you call it. I'll take it. All right.
Before we get into the actual film, and hey, listen, I got the first thing popping up. I know I was supposed to put this last, I think, but we're gonna put it first. So we will get into that. All right. But before we get into that, right there, got a question here, Greg. Which QB did you want Niners to pick the year they took Trey Lance?
I wanted the Niners, if they were going to take a quarterback, given the equity that they gave up for Trey Lance, and this is nothing against Trey Lance. This is not a shot at any quarterbacks. If they were going to take a quarterback, I was on the let's trade for a veteran train because the team was in a win now mode, and we still are in a win now mode, set up to win games with the guys that we got. So my thought was, if you're going to give up a couple draft picks, you don't necessarily know what you're going to be getting in a rookie quarterback, and they're probably not going to be ready to rock and roll first, maybe second year. You're going to have to wait around to see. Right. So my thought was, if you're going to give up 2 first-round draft picks and then the comp pick too, why not go get somebody that you know is proven? And my thought at the time, and everybody's going, oh, Russell Wilson. I know that they probably weren't going to trade Russell Wilson to the 49ers because the Seahawks probably knew at that rate, if we trade Russell to the 49ers, given their defense, we're screwed. Like, there's no shot where we're going to beat Russell Wilson. So that wouldn't have happened. But if I could have gotten somebody, given the picks they gave up, with how he played in Seattle, I would have tried to gone after Russell Wilson. That would have been my thought. Because I thought that Russell Wilson he's annihilated the 49ers, given the Broncos game, put that one aside. But for the most part, he's killed the 49ers and his abilities to make plays, the big arm. I think he's a smart quarterback for the most part. I would have liked to see him in a Shanahan offense. So that was my take. Like, if you're going to give up that much equity, let's go get a veteran, and you kind of know what you're already going to get. I wouldn't have said, let's go get, like a lot of people said, go get Kirk Cousins. He'll be cheaper. I don't know if he would have been cheaper. Because what are the Vikings? I mean, I think he would have been cheaper. You're still probably giving up a first for Kirk and probably the comp pick too. So
and
I don't know.
Too, from what they said, it was like they looked into Matthew Stafford. So I think their thinking and logic was along the lines of what you were thinking. If we're going to give up all these picks, let's go get a player. So they looked into Matthew Stafford. Maybe they just got beat to the punch. Then they looked into Deshaun Watson. And I think we know, you know what I'm saying?
I see everybody saying Deshaun Watson. Trust me, I do like.
They looked into him though.
Yeah, no, and I thought that was a possibility. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Deshaun Watson is a great football player, but on the flip side, there was the underlying issues that were still on the table, and you didn't know what was going to happen. Right? That was kind of going on at those times. No, that wasn't. That was before then.
I think when the way that they made it sound, they were interested in him because I don't think he had the situation yet. I think that
wasn't completely out yet.
At that time, it was just he wants to be traded. So all
right, okay. So it was he didn't want to play for the Texans at the time.
Right.
Like, I'm not going in the game type thing. So that in itself, that's a whole other conversation. That we could talk for 30 minutes about how give me a guy that wants to play for his team regardless. Like, whatever. That's a whole separate conversation. But I do think Deshaun Watson is a solid football player. He obviously has other things going on for him that are completely different. I'm not even going to touch on that. But my first choice besides that, like if I could have said, hey, we need a guy for the next 3 years to take us to the Super Bowl, I would have said, give me Russell Wilson. Because of guys that probably going to get.
So who else?
But they weren't going to trade him. So at that rate, it's like obviously Aaron Rodgers. They weren't going to trade him to the 49ers. If the Packers can't beat the 49ers with Aaron Rodgers, do you think you're going to beat the 49ers without him? And he's on the other team? No shot, right? You have to get through the Niners to get to the NFC Championship. You've lost to him multiple times. It's not happening. So, there was one of those tough ones. Like I at that rate, I knew it was going to be really hard for teams to want to trade their veteran quarterback to the 49ers, especially in the NFC, because you knew you had to get through the 49ers in order to get to the championship, and teams would be basically shooting themselves in the foot if they gave away a really legitimate top-tier type of quarterback to them. So, yeah, the Kirk Cousins thing I think was probably the most realistic from the Niners perspective in order to get him. But I don't know how realistic it was on the Viking side or how hard they actually pursued Kirk Cousins. But again, Kirk Cousins looks great a lot of times, but then Kirk Cousins gets to prime time and doesn't look like Kirk Cousins anymore. So what if he did the same on the 49ers? It's all speculation. I don't know. The Stafford thing, I think too, was also realistic. But again, the equity to go get a guy like Stafford, I don't know. Like, to me, it's the equity piece. I don't mind the Trey Lance pick, but we talked about this too when Trey Lance got drafted, and God forbid, I hope he does pan out. I do hope it works out, because if it didn't, I said, this could be the difference between Kyle Shanahan being with the 49ers long-term or him and John Lynch being gone if this doesn't work out. Like this, me and you talked about this. Like, this would be the worst. If it doesn't pan out with Trey Lance, this would be the worst draft pick the 49ers made, given the equity that they gave up to go get him.
Right.
So it's high risk, high reward, So I do think that if he does pan out, great. But if not, it's going to look like shit on the 49ers.
And that's not good. We got Josue Torres. He says, "Where's the rapper?" And also, Greg, Mike sounds way better than last time. That's good. I'm glad. Yeah, man. We're ready to rock. So you ready to talk some quarterback?
Yeah. Where's the rapper? Angry Donald, I don't know. I don't know.
We'll be in Atlanta. We both fly into Atlanta on Thursday.
So you guys are going to the game. There you go. If you guys are going to the Atlanta game, go get some picks with my guys, Donald and Croc. I know they're always down for it, especially Angry Donald. You could pick. I mean, Angry Donald's going to fit in there like a rapper in Atlanta for sure. Everybody's going to think he's just an Atlanta rapper.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, but I'm ready to get into it, man. Go ahead. If you want to cut to that.
Real quick, shout out to Manly Shavers. He says, my wife said, you must be listening to Eric Crocker. You stop talking to me and put your headphones in. And listen, I'm not trying to induce any divorces or anything like that, but shout out to you for listening to the show. Appreciate it. And shout out to the wife for knowing, hey, she knows how important this show is to you. That's what's up. Let's go. All right. We putting it on the screen. We're live. Now, we are going to get into 49ers plays. That's what we're here for. Yep. But you wanted to start off here with the pop step. And I went to the TV copy because I felt like you'd just be able to see it better than the actual,
yeah, so everybody, and I think not everybody in here necessarily, but a lot of people recently been asking about the pop step and why Aaron Rodgers works on it or why Josh was working on the pop step. And for those, it's going to be a little bit tough to see. There's a clip of the end zone cam. I should have sent you on Instagram, like literally ground level of one of these camera guys sitting behind here.
Can you find it? Because I can.
I do have it. I just saw it.
So yeah, let's remove this one.
I just saw it here on the old Instagram. Whoa.
I just sent it to you on Instagram. I don't know if.
Here, I'll send you the link. How about that?
All right, send the link to Twitter.
For everybody, I'm active on Instagram. Croc is way more active on Twitter. I'm not as active on the Twitter world.
I'm not as active on Instagram, but I'm definitely more active on Twitter.
All right,
and we're actually live on Twitter right now as well. All the teams that passed on Jimmy are trash. Washington, Indy, and the Panthers about to fire all their damn coaches. Sorry ass coaches. Hey, what'd you think about? And I'm gonna see the link that you sent to me. What'd you think about Ron Rivera just throwing his quarterback under the bus? Did you hear about that yet?
Yeah, I did, and then I looked into it a little bit more, and I think the headlines got a lot of people there. And really, what it was, from what it sounded like, was all of those teams have had established quarterbacks that have been there for a set amount of time and have had time to gel with their team. They got Carson Wentz. He's only been there for, X amount of months and hasn't necessarily had the same opportunity as those other quarterbacks. But it doesn't really sound that great when you even put it in that perspective. When he said the way he said it, it doesn't sound great. And there's a lot of guys. I mean, there's a lot of teams now that are like, they pass on Jimmy, the shoulder. They're probably sitting here like, damn, we could be working with somebody that's plenty capable and is probably not going to make a ton of mistakes that we have going on here. So, and I also think it's a team built around them. That's
right.
The Baker thing is they got Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. Both are hurt now. And who they are with PJ
Walker.
Yeah, PJ Walker. So, I mean, that situation is that it is what it is.
All right, but here we go. Let me make sure I'm sharing it here. Oh, I am. All right, so I just got to click play. Oh, hold on. Let me remove the super chat. Appreciate the super chat. All right, so hopefully we can see a good enough view of this. Hold on. How do I turn this down, though? I can't even rewind it.
Yeah, you can't rewind it.
We might have to go to the other view.
We're probably gonna have to go to the other one. It was a cool end zone video. But basically, we talked about the front step. Like everybody was asking about that pop step, and at the end of the day, that pop step is to basically slow down your momentum and try and block off the front side from opening up or over opening too soon. So he ends up stepping up in the pocket here, gets pressure. So go ahead and rewind it just a touch, Croc. And you'll see him step up. So he'll push up, hitch in the pocket, and then there ends up being pressure in his face. And at that last second, he basically stops. He'll put his front leg in the ground and stop his body because he's about to get hit. So it's a pop step, and then now the front side stops for a split second here, and he releases the ball, and then he takes on a hit. But he uses that front step or that pop step to basically brace his whole front side. and then slow his momentum down. Otherwise, if he just takes this huge step and then rotates through it, he's probably getting his front leg trampled on or rolled up on, whatever it may be. So it's a tool or a mechanism, it's a technique, whatever you want to call it, that basically slows down the front side from over rotating too soon, and it firms it up to the point where you can get your hips and shoulders square to your target at the release of the football. And so Josh puts it in an open area for him. It wasn't this completely tight spiral, beautiful looking ball that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, but it gets the job done. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is some of these NFL quarterbacks, everybody thinks they just throw the tightest looking spirals every single play. It doesn't show as much because you don't have the white stripes on a ball like you do in college. So you can't really tell unless you slow it down and look at it. But nonetheless, absolute dime. I was actually training quarterbacks, unfortunately, and missed this play live, but my mom FaceTimed me right away and said, oh my gosh, you got to go back and watch the Josh clip. Like she's trying to FaceTime me while I'm on the field. Like, look at the replay. And ironically, I sat Gabriel Davis this week in fantasy, but I still got to win. So it's okay. You know, maybe I want to go to the chat for a fantasy question at the end of this thing because I got a potential trade here that I need to ask the chat about. I'm very curious. And Underdog Fantasy and Crocky and Donald this week in Underdog Fantasy. I did my Underdog Fantasy this week. First week doing it. Promo code Crocky. I shared it to my friends. I got on and I started making the pick'ems this week. And I'm like, this is exactly why I don't do sports betting because I missed the pick'em last night by 2 yards for Pat Mahomes rushing. And you told me that he got 8 yards or something like that. I missed the damn pick'em there. I had the $100 free because I put in $100 and then I got $100 free because I used the promo code Crocky and I used house money and I lost every single one except for the one that I put insurance on. That's it. So I don't know. I gotta make it up this weekend, and my wife's on it now, so she's. Hey,
so off. Is the video blurry with me showing the video? Because I see
it's slightly blurry.
Okay, slightly blurry. I don't know why.
The Arkansas Wi-Fi kill more live streams than a beaver.
All right, here we go. We'll try to get to these other videos, and hopefully it shows up a little bit better.
I might have to make like a Huddle account or something like that and clip it because you screen record them, right? Is that how you're doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. I'll try and do it. I'll try and figure this out to how we can pull these clips and make it look all nice and cute for everybody on here. But anyways, go ahead and go to it. I don't know which order. Did you put them in the same order that I sent them to you?
I put them in the order that you asked.
Okay.
Now, you said that the first play was supposed to be a good play, but it was not. The first play that you told me to put was...
Oh, no, it wasn't. Okay. So this is one that I want to talk about. Obviously, there's plenty good and plenty bad. There's plenty good and way more good than there is bad, but I went and tried to pull a couple clips and just to talk about them here. So a lot of people, and I listened to this on the radio right before I got home. And you know, they say that Debo saved the interception from happening and Jimmy forced this ball, whatever it may be. And a lot of people I think at home are thinking the same thing. There's this one high safety and Jimmy's trying to force a ball in here. So go ahead and let it play really quick. And then we'll go back and talk about it. So Debo Samuel's on the bottom here. He runs this dig route across the middle. Okay. So right there, he runs this dig. Now this looks like a forced throw. Okay. And it's a risky throw, but everybody's going to put the blame on Jimmy here. Okay. And as I went back and watched this clip multiple times, this route right here is a deep dig. Okay. And it looks like Debo's going to try and break this thing off at about 15 to 16. And most of the time, go ahead and pause it really quick and go pause it at the beginning. Most times when you're running a deep dig or a dig of any type of in-breaking route, whatever it may be, most times when people are running those or receivers are taught to run that flat across or 1 yard negative. And why you ask? Because this situation right here, you want to stay away from that safety. So that safety right there, the free safety is playing center field. You want to stay 1 yard negative and stay a little bit flatter. The more you drift into the safety, the more dangerous it gets. One for the quarterback. And if a quarterback throws you into the safety, it's the quarterback's fault, right? Now you're probably leaving on the stretcher. Well, I went back and watched this clip a couple times. And you'll see, go ahead and don't play it yet, but take your mouse and put it on 15 yards. So it's at the 40-yard line, right? Yep. right there. So Debo, let's say he's running a 15-yard dig, maybe 16 max. Debo runs this. It kind of looks sloppy at the top. If I'm going to critique a route based off of me being around NFL type of athletes at receiver, you'll watch Debo break this down and then he'll drift almost to 18, 19 yards. If Debo breaks at 15, 16 and takes it flat down the line, Jimmy gives him enough room in between himself and the safety. It's a dime, and he's probably still running. Okay. Yet Debo drifts with a little bit of depth, and you'll see it at the top and ends up creeping more and more towards the safety. So I think that, yes, it was a tight ball, but Debo didn't help himself out and didn't help Jimmy out by drifting into the safety. And I'm sure that's something they probably talked about in the receiver room this week.
All right, so hopefully it's not choppy for y'all. I don't know what y'all looking at because everything, on my end, since it's my
if you look to the bottom, just look at Debo Samuel, watch him break down that route. He'll take a few extra steps at the top, and then he'll drift towards a play side safety.
Yeah, my bad, cut you off. What you're saying is he needs to be breaking that off and flattening it around the 40.
I would say, yeah. Basically, you want to keep your distance away from that safety. You start drifting, all you're doing is getting closer and closer, enabling that safety to make a play on the ball, which he does. But if he throws it, if he takes it out of the break right here, boom, stays flat, that ball, he's probably still has 3 or 4 yards of separation between the safety, but he keeps drifting. And by the time he's all the way out of his break, now he's at 19 yards on that dig route. So if it's the last 2 steps, before he breaks it down and he chops just to break in, he continues through it. And it looks like he ran it a little bit sloppy and then ends up having to play defense at that rate. But I think that's, to me, being around, like I said, a lot of the pro receivers, I've been around just as many pro receivers as I have quarterbacks. That's one of those routes that if we ran that routes on air, they'd catch the ball, throw it immediately back to the quarterback, get on the line and run it again. Just based off of how he broke off at the top with those 2 extra chop steps and then drifted from there. So a lot of people are going to look at that as that's on Jimmy. I think if he takes that straight down the line, he's probably catching it on the run still with 3 to 4 yards of space. So that's something that I noticed. Still ballsy throw. You got to trust your dude at that point. And luckily Debo ended up turning into a defender. But yeah, that I think is probably something that the receivers are going to go over this week in film. And there's a few cases where I think the Niners get a little bit sloppy on their routes and they start to drift and they're not as smooth out the breaks. On some of their routes you go watch some of the elite guys, the Diggs, right? The Devontaes of the world, even, Keenan Allen, obviously he's not playing, but those guys are so good at route running that it looks very sharp. That didn't look like a sharp receiver route, if that makes sense.
Right. And I think that's the little details of things. First of all, just to get the quarterback perspective, because that's what we have you on here for, right? To get your perspective on how you're seeing it. And essentially a ball where I'm looking at like, damn, Jimmy threw it into the safety's chest and he just dropped it. You're like, well, hold on. The receiver needs to break that off around 15 yards and not drift upfield. And he kind of, if you watch him, and I'll rewind it back a little bit, you see he does climb up to 18, 19 yards, and then he tries to work kind of back downhill, but by then it's too late.
The ball's already out. I mean, he threw it on time. And again, this could have been an 18-yard dig. I don't know. But even if it's an 18-yard dig, it's still a sloppy route because he basically broke down way too soon and then drifted on it. So either way, to me, the route doesn't look very crisp. And I think that especially on man coverage, like DBs would be eating this up on man coverage.
If you see a safety that's kind of really slow playing it, do you have, and right here, look, I mean, he's flat-footed, right? So do you have the opportunity to say, okay, this safety is not screaming out of there? And again, you might not know, but can you maybe cut that route a little bit shorter?
It's a timing route, so you wouldn't want to do it, but you could if you had to. They don't really cut them that short. It'd be like an option route, and you're not going to cut it off 2 yards short, really. Gotcha. And again, I don't know how much leniency those guys get. If it was Cooper Kupp, I don't know, Cooper Kupp would probably route this dude up and find a way to get open. I don't think that is necessarily the same opportunity for Debo Samuel. But again, it's a risky throw regardless. Like I'd rather you not throw this with that safety playing 4 yards back because of the ability for them to bust downhill like he just did. But but that's what Jimmy does. He throws the ball across the middle. So,
right.
but I think this falls on both of their shoulders, not just on Jimmy's shoulders here.
All right. Gonna run it one more time. Because you were like, good play. And I was like, maybe he's.
Yeah, I meant to say something else. So this is another one, and this one I wanted to talk about with Jimmy. And I teach this to my quarterbacks all the time, especially when we're trying to high-low flat defenders or work like snag routes or curl flats, whatever it may be, where you're trying to put one guy in a bind. And right here, they're trying to put this flat defender in the bind. So go ahead and circle number 2 on top so people know who we're talking about, Croc.
All right. So
The flat defender.
right here.
No, number 2 on the defense. Number 2 outside on the defense. Yeah,
Him?
right there. Yep.
Is that how y'all call it on defense as well?
Number 2 outside defender.
I mean, on offense, because I mean, from the defensive side, I'm looking at, I'm counting 1, 2. So
right, you're counting number 2 as the receiver, right? And there's 3 receivers there. Yeah, I would say that could be flat defender, could be the nickel safety, depending on the personnel. I just say it's number 2 outside. We always say it's number 2 outside. Some people say in every offense is different, right? But that's number 2 outside. So that's what
real quick, just so people know, this is J.C. Horn playing in the nickel spot. So it's not something I caught live. So I'm just kind of throwing it out there. This is a guy that plays outside. They definitely have a decent amount of cornerbacks, and they're able to use him in a little bit more versatile way. So they got him playing in the slot, which he did some of that as well as rookie year. But go ahead.
So all they're doing on this is trying to put him in a predicament. And I wanted to show this. It's not this sexy play that a lot of people are going to look at and say, oh my God, this is a great ball or whatever it may be. But it's the mannerisms that Jimmy has that I think make him better than a lot of other guys. And it's the little subtle things he does. And you're probably not going to be able to see it on here because it's choppy. You might be able to see it from the end zone cam. But what he does, and I try and teach this to my guys, because what you're trying to do is manipulate defenders with your body, with your eyes. And Jimmy does a good job on this, especially on like double sticks, stick concept, curl flats, whatever. Right here, he just a subtle shoulder with his eyes, and he'll shoulder the flat defender just to hold him for a split second. As soon as he does that, J.C. Horn takes his eyes off of Jimmy and bounces out just for a split second. Right there, Jimmy will shoulder him, and then he'll take a reset. Well, now look at the spacing. Right. And I think Jimmy could have been a little bit quicker on his reset with his feet instead of hitching back up. Just reset the feet in the pocket. So if you notice, he'll go from one outside shoulder, reset, then hitch. And now he has to throw a little bit more of a heater. And he does end up getting the ball in there versus just taking a reset and throwing it without the hitch. But again, that's a good ball. Throws him away from the flat defender out there. And it's one of those things that a lot of people will overlook, but I think Jimmy is really, really good at manipulating just that subtle little shoulder check just to keep the flat defender. And then he ends up protecting, Kittle from getting smacked by Horn there right out the break. So that's a good ball. That's a tight ball, but those little things, like as a quarterback coach, everybody says deep ball, deep ball, deep ball. Like every time I watch a high school kid's highlight tape, the first play on the highlight tape almost every single time is this deep ball. And to me, that's not sexy. Like that is not, I already know as soon as I click on a kid's highlight tape, that's the first play, deep ball over the top, wide open, deep ball. I could take Eric Crocker, for instance, right here. And I could tell him, go behind the center and take a snap and just chuck that ball 50 yards down the field. You probably have a damn good shot, especially if the corner gets beat, of making a completion, right? That's not working as a quarterback. A lot of people can just throw a deep ball up in the air and make it a completion. These are the plays where a lot of people overlook, but it's those little manipulations that Jimmy does that I think make him better than people might realize. But I would like to see him, because it's risky, I would like to see Jimmy throw this without the hitch and shoulder the flat, reset, now, ball's out. So he takes this complete reset and realigns his feet up the field, and then has to reset one more time to Kittle. And he got lucky with it. I mean, not lucky, but he ended up getting it in there in time. But those are one of those ones that'll make you kind of hold your breath sometimes, just because he took a tad too long to get it out with his feet, not his arm, because his arm talent is, as far as the hand speed goes, is elite. So what was the next one we have here?
Now again, Wolfcast, man, appreciate the contribution.
This is a 2902. I think this was a bad one here, right?
This was a bad one, and if I had to guess, again, we didn't talk about these plays beforehand. Is this a design clear out for Kyle Juszczyk? Because it's right there, and that's not what he throws.
Yeah, I wrote some notes on it. It's a 5 yard in. So he throws the dig to Debo instead of the 5 yard, like the fin route here.
Right.
Obviously Jimmy's great at throwing a ball across the middle. We see it all the time. That's his throw chart is like, the spray chart for him is like down the seam, up the middle,
Yeah.
ridiculous, right? But this is one of those ones that kind of makes you scratch your head. You're like, damn, man, just like that's the head scratcher, like the hold your breath. Holy shit, what are we doing here? So you got a 5 yard in up top from Juszczyk, and then you got a dig route from Debo at number 3 there. So it turns into basically a pick play from Ayuk. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. I wasn't like studying the play, but as I was going through and screen recording it, I was like, is this why, Greg had me put this on here? And I see where he threw it, and I'm like, that was very dangerous where he threw it.
So that's what I'm talking about. These are one of those
So
things.
is it designed for kill? That's the part, right? Because I think people sometimes you can look at a play and be like, this guy's running wide open in the seam. He always misses this guy, right? And it's like, well, that's to the backside of the play. Well, this is actually kind of, it's like, well, I would assume you're supposed to be reading the concept to the side.
Yeah, we call this this is like and again, everybody has different terms. Like I talked to Bray about this earlier. I should have Bray on tonight because Bray still has this stuff dialed from like old West Coast offense terms with Andy Reid stuff. Like Andy Reid, like way back Andy Reid, and then stuff that he did with the Chiefs, and then into Kyle's offense and what they called it. But you call this follow, whatever. Sometimes people call follow with like a drag coming across, but it's basically a 5 yard in on the outside from number 1 with Juszczyk, and you got Debo run across the middle. In my opinion, the 3 receiver side should be wide open. They go into a 1 high look here. In the free safeties was basically playing center field. Now, now pause it real quick.
Oh, damn.
So right here, if you look up top, so go ahead and circle the number 2 defender or the nickel safety, strong safety, whatever anybody wants to call it. But we're going to call him the strong safety on this. Or excuse me, we'll call him the free safety because the strong, and again, this is all defensive stuff. They might call the strength on this the 3 receiver side, even though Kittle's on the line of scrimmage here with the running back. Everybody, that's all your thing. I don't know what you guys would dictate the strength, but we're going to call that the free safety down.
I play cornerback, so I just kind of went with what everybody else said to do.
But nonetheless, if you look at his leverage, where's he playing? Outside leverage of
right here.
Yep, he's playing outside leverage.
Slightly
outside leverage. So right away, that should tell me they're probably going to be in a single high look, because when you're playing outside leverage, when I go look at that strong safety playing outside leverage, I know at that point his job, it's probably going to be 3, because his job is to funnel everything inside towards the strong safety, right? He doesn't have outside help. He does have deep outside help, but as far as the corner goes, but if you get 2 guys pressing the corner, you're 2-on-1, right? So his job at that rate is going to be to funnel everything in towards the free safety or the center field safety in this circumstance here. So Jimmy's got to recognize that. Let's go ahead and read the 3 receiver side, because it's probably going to be cover 3, and get his eyes to basically what we call like that. Like I said, that triangle over here on the 25-yard line, and he has his eyes the other way. So this is one of those misreads. It could have been very simple, especially because I think it was 1st and 10 on this. And this should be an easy completion for Jimmy. But instead, he tries to force that ball across the middle. Now, again, here's the thing, too. Everybody wants to harp on Jimmy and say that Jimmy is this and that and the other thing. I watch a lot of football, and I know Crocker watches a lot of football. And I'm assuming that a lot of people in here watch a lot of football. I would say Jimmy does so much more good than bad. And this is one of those bad things that people will hold on to and be like, oh, he's trash because of it, right? Now, people, again, we've talked about this before. People are quick to forget about the shit like this when Josh does it or Mahomes does it or one of these younger quarterbacks does it, because they make up for it with his 50-yard, 60-yard bomb touchdown down the middle, and everybody forgets about the stupid shit they did prior. And Jimmy doesn't ever give people a chance to really forget about it, because he doesn't make those huge plays. And he's not necessarily forced to a lot. And I'll talk about that too. I wrote something down and we'll talk about that too. But this is one of those ones, I didn't want to touch on it too long, but this is kind of one of those forced balls that just makes you scratch your head when he had the 5-yard in route on the bottom open. Flat defender was getting wide. The perfect pick play, if you would. And we missed it there. So,
we understand that he missed the throw and all that.
Yep.
But where the fuck was he throwing it?
See, I don't know. I don't know if he was throwing it to
Debo to sit. Was he expecting Debo to sit?
He might have expected Debo to sit, because here's the thing. You watch Mitchell's running like a Texas route, okay? This is weird, because Mitchell's running this angle, text, whatever you guys want to call it. Again, everybody has different terms for these routes. But he's running right into where Debo's coming anyways. So it's not great. From a concept standpoint, it's really not that great, because these guys are running into the same area, crossing paths. All you're doing is bringing defenders into the middle of the field. So I don't know if he's throwing it to Mitchell or if he's throwing it to Debo. If this is one of those ones he's just trying to get it out of his hand because he's feeling pressure from the backside, I'm not sure. I really don't know.
He's definitely throwing the Debo. Looking at his helmet, he's throwing the Debo.
Yeah, I would say that he's throwing a Debo. I would just like to see Jimmy get his eyes to the left side and make it a little bit easier on himself. Like this one right here just tells me he's reading the angle route to basically Debo instead of reading the flat defender on the left side. So again, I'm sure they had that conversation in the quarterback room this week. Could have been a lot easier.
And for y'all to say that it's kind of like the video is choppy, I'm actually watching it now on, like, I can see it on my Twitter account because it's live on Twitter, so I can see what's streaming. It don't look bad what I'm looking at, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Anyways, which one we have next here?
Here we go.
We got 2331. I think this is a good one here. I took all these notes and I'm 2331. Fin route with a basic in front versus cover 2. This is one of those throws, 2nd and 8, flat defender read, throwing the ball with anticipation. That, again, a lot of people will overlook because he does it so often. But by the time in the end zone clip is a little bit better, and I think this is a really good throw. Like this is, and again, maybe I say, this is not elite. Jimmy's not elite. That doesn't go in this. Those don't go hand in hand. Watch the defender. Watch the defender up there, right? So you look at the linebacker. So that linebacker right there, okay, his response, go back, Crock, and circle 55 there. So right there, that linebacker.
Real quick, 55 is real nasty with the white gloves and white cleats, but go ahead.
I don't mind it. But anyways,
that's because that's what you wore.
I would definitely.
This is literally MJC. We wore the white tops with the black bottoms, and then you wore the black socks because we were forced to wear black socks, and then you had white cleats. So that's why you like.
I told the story about the white cleats. Got them for the rain game. We won the game. Stuck with it. They made it from there. I used to wear the all black Vapors. I had the Vapors from like 2003 or something like that. I got them at the Cal spring game sale when they used to sell their stuff for like $25 or something like that. And I ended up wearing those, and I got hurt. You know what's ironic is I wore Nike, got hurt the first game against Delta, wore Nikes the next week. We did okay. Then I ended up switching to Adidas because it rained against Sac City. Played against Akeem Hicks, the D tackle for who the hell is he playing for now? He used to play for the Bears. I don't even know who he's on now. Played against him twice that year, and he was out of Sacramento. And so ended up wearing Adidas. But
well, real quick, Jesse, what's your? For some reason, I'm blanking on your Twitter account name. So Jesse, post
this
that.
This is Jesse from Twitter. Jesse from Twitter that hates on Jimmy every single week.
He has a question for you. So that's why we want to bring him on, so he can ask the question and you can.
No, I'm just messing with you, Jesse. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's all right.
But he
anyways,
does hate on him, but yeah,
I know he does. Yes, yeah, I see. Yeah, that's the one right there. And I've had you circled, Jesse, for a while. I'm keeping all the receipts. I watched your show the other day too.
This might get spicy.
No, it's not gonna get spicy. I'm just messing around. It's all good. No, but anyways, so right here, it's cover 2. Okay. that linebacker's job right there is basically to wall and then sit. So his job is to wall off the inside, because if the receiver breaks inside right now, there's no deep safety help across the middle, right? You got two safeties that are playing the deep half. His job, everybody says hook to curl. It's not necessarily hook to curl, because if you just went straight hook to curl and somebody cuts inside of you, now you're just running straight up the middle of the field. So his job right there is to wall off the receiver and then sit, right? So he walls him off on the inside, sits. By the time Jimmy throws the ball, Ayuk is not even open yet. Okay. So Ayuk, he's barely even with the DB. So that he's behind the linebacker right here. And all he does is throw this ball with really good anticipation. I think this is a dime. This is one of those overlooked throws that the timing works out right. Jimmy gets the ball out. It's an absolute dime. But this is one of those differences, I think. And I wrote this down. This is kind of the difference when you watch younger generation quarterbacks or guys that are in their first or second year in the league, where they kind of struggle to throw with anticipation, throwing guys open, versus somebody who's a little bit more of a veteran throwing that ball down the field. I think this is a big time veteran throw that keeps the chains moving. A lot of people look at it as like, damn, this is a risky throw, but he trusts himself, and I'll give him props for letting his guys do his thing, man. Like, we see it a lot, and it goes across the middle, but Kyle keeps calling these route concepts across the middle. Like, this is basically this. If you watch come in the picture late, where's Juszczyk running the 5-yard fin out right behind? It's the same shit that we just talked about on the concept prior. Literally the exact same concept. They just flipped it. So but now it's against a too high look. So
right.
What's going on, Jesse? How you doing, man?
What up, man? Jeez. I was on your side with Croc trying to stop you from being great, and now you're just all this shade, Greg. What's up, man?
I'm messing with you, man. I'm messing. Hey, I see everybody's tweets, and it was funny the other day. It was one of the writers or something. Somebody writes for NBC or whatever, said something, and I'm like, hey, man, pump the brakes on Jimmy this week. Like, he did nothing wrong to deserve the hate. and literally somebody, and I sent it to Crocker, somebody came back at me and said, these casual fans or something like that don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I'm glad that I fit in with the casual fans now. So that's good.
Well, you're a casual. No, I had a question, and I figured it would be better to ask it while we're on together. It's a lot to type. So this is what I often see from Jimmy, but based off of what you were just saying, I almost question if it's a Kyle thing. So you had the play earlier where you had the 3 to the wide side, and Jimmy picks the 2 to the short side, and Juszczyk is running wide open underneath. Okay. So my question is this: Jimmy often does this, but from what I understand in a West Coast offense, it's not. There are offenses where it's pick a side. You pick a side pre-snap, you go through your progressions.
Predicated on what shell they're showing, one high or two high shell.
Yes. And then in a West Coast offense, that is not the case. Usually it's these are your progressions. You start here, you go this way. So if that is the case, and Jimmy is often picking quote unquote the wrong side based off of what he's seeing pre-snap, wouldn't that be a Kyle thing and not a Jimmy thing? I'm here to defend Jimmy, actually. No.
I get what you're saying. I think in this route concept is a very popular route concept from high school to college and into the NFL.
Right? Greg Roman ran it a ton with the 49ers.
Yeah, a lot of people will run this concept, and it's a fairly easy read based off of Ayuk at the top looking like he's running a pick play to try and create some spacing and separation for that safety and Juszczyk. That tells me that the route concept and his eyes should be on the top half of the field here.
Okay.
Maybe, again, he liked the matchup. Maybe he misread the coverage, but it's not like these guys were showing something that was this very exotic bailout coverage or man type of look. So this was one of those ones I was like, I don't know what the hell he was really looking at here. But again, I'm not on the field eye level. I don't know what the call was in the helmet. Maybe there's something that said, hey, peek this. And then and every time, and I've heard it before, right? Coaches say, peek this. You go to the sideline to get a play, like they call you over instead of doing the wristband or on the microphone. Like you'll run to the numbers and they'll say, this is the play, peek this. Right. And you go out to the field, you'll peek it, and you're like, damn thing wasn't even there. What the hell are they talking about, And I know that this trickles, or not necessarily trickles, but it just keeps going to the next level as well. So I don't know what was said here, but based off of what I'm looking at, I don't know where Jimmy's eyes were. And I don't necessarily like that Texas route running right back into the middle of the field anyways. And maybe Mitchell ran the wrong route because he's running right back into the middle of the field. When you guys, two guys coming underneath and Mitchell going right back, you're not going to create much spacing here in the middle of the field. You're bringing too many guys in the middle. So I don't know if this was like option route, something like that with Mitchell, and he goes back inside. I have no clue. But this was one of those ones that I circled, and I would think that a easy progression, reading the flat defender at the top, fin route to the dig or dig to the fin, whatever it may be, it was right there right now. Jimmy could have made an easy completion. Not saying we're moving the chains, but I think it was 1st and 10 on this one. It sets up for a 2nd and short.
Absolutely. Well, that's all I had. Don't let Croc stop you from being great. That's all I'm going to say.
No.
You guys have a great night.
Hey, you want to stay on? You want to stay on, Jesse?
Yeah, I'll stick around.
You can stay on, man. Hey, don't be too hard on me, all right? I know. I see the flame sometime on Jimmy, and one thing I did tell Croc, and I know a lot of people get on him, and I get on him too. But I try, and I've told this before, I try and be a little bit more professional about it because I don't know at some point where my career might take me. Right. Sure, yeah, so I got to be a little bit more reserved. But there's times where I'm looking at the TV and I'm saying the same thing that a lot of people on here are saying. And I'm a Niner fan through and through. I love the Bills now because Josh plays for the Bills. He's obviously like my little brother. But I think there will be a point in time where we have a Jimmy Garoppolo here, and I've said it before too, where people are quick to forget how shitty things were prior to Jimmy. There's going to be a point in time where I think we'll look back and be like, damn, man, I wish we had Jimmy Garoppolo right now. I truly do think that. And I'm not saying that Trey's going to shit the bed. It could be 10 years from now, right? But I still think that he's good enough to where people are going to say, damn, man, I wish we had him. And I talked to Tyler Bray earlier on the phone, and he's like, dude, he was around Alex Smith as his backup for 5 years in Kansas City. And he said, he and Alex are very, very similar. Right. Alex was considered not the greatest deep ball thrower for a long time. Like a lot of balls were kind of just thrown up in the air. And it was like, dude, what the hell is going on? But then he just kind of got shit done once the defense started coming around and once the offense started clicking. And then obviously he left, and they got the sexy quarterback in there that could make all the throws and all the run plays and this and that. But, at some point or another, people are like, damn, man, we could really use Alex Smith right now. You know what I'm saying?
I think quarterback play is a lot worse in the NFL than what people think. And I've said that about Jimmy. I don't think Jimmy's the best, but Jimmy is a starting level quarterback. For me, with Jimmy, it has nothing to do with his lack of skill set. That is not my issue. My issue is if you're going to be an Alex Smith type of player, because that's what your skills say you are, you can't have the 24 touchdowns and 18 turnovers. That's when you have the 24 touchdowns and 10 turnovers. And so that's my only issue with him is just stop turning the ball over so much. And if he can do that, which he has done the last couple of weeks, the Niners are in great shape.
Yeah, and like that play I just showed, like that fin route coming behind, like that probably could have been a turnover, right? Where he should have just, you go to the use check, it's not a big gain, but shit, it was an easy completion. Like those, it's just a little details. Against the Broncos, I'll cut them some slack against the Broncos. It was first full week back, basically. Like, but you're a 9-year vet. You got to be able to see that play side, or excuse me, the robber safety or the buzz safety coming down. And he just, like, he looks polar opposite right now. I just hope that it continues through the season because the defense is obviously doing well and affording them opportunities. So, Greg needs a podcast. I have my podcast right here, man.
Oh yeah, somebody said we're oh damn. Now I missed the question. But we are turning this we will be turning this into a podcast form. We're working on it. We're working on it to where it to be a legit podcast that you can hear, and obviously the podcast version you won't hear.
Right. Where did that question just go? I had part of it already answered in my head, but type it back in the chat since we missed it.
Nah, it was do receivers and quarterbacks watch film together? Here we go.
Do receivers and quarterbacks watch film together so they can talk through each person? I mean, you will watch a little bit of team film, and again, at the next level, in college you will. right? The offense will like the offensive line will go watch. Like I played at Eastern Washington, and we won the national championship in 2010, playing at a very high level. Linemen basically did their own thing. Okay. You would watch it sometimes with linemen, but it's kind of like the Hard Knocks thing. Like if you guys watch Hard Knocks, coach comes in, talks to the whole team, this, and this, whatever. It's great. At junior college, everybody watched film together. Offense, Team O, Team D, get the hell out of here, right? Let's go practice.
I feel like at MJC, it was just all of us watching film together.
Yeah, we watched film. It was what it was, but we didn't watch every single play break. You just didn't have the time or the wherewithal to do that stuff.
Right,
but you'll go Team O, then those guys will break apart. And sometimes, yes, the receivers will go watch film with the quarterbacks, but most times the coaches are on such a high level that they're communicating together anyways. So they're going to relay what the quarterback should be doing, what the receiver should be doing. And then at some point or another, hey, like Deebo Samuel's going to go sit his ass in the room with Jimmy and let's talk about the certain situations here. Let's talk about this. And they don't necessarily have to do it with the coaches. They are skilled enough at this rate to know what the hell's going on film and be able to meet together and talk about these things. So those things, little miscommunications are definitely handled either on the field or they're going to be watched together in the film room thereafter between the quarterback and the receivers. It doesn't always necessarily have to be with a coach. So
we got one more question and we'll get back to the film, but I don't know. I don't even know if you're able to answer this right now.
Yeah, please tell me that Haner's returning soon. My dogs need help desperately. I am not able to answer the question legally. So right. I hope so. He was throwing the ball at practice today with the trainers. He still has a brace on. I hope I have Logan Fife there, and a lot of people are giving him crap right now. He's a younger kid that's from Tracy. Huh?
They getting on Fife? I mean, he's
like,
this is his first
already.
Action, and I get it. He's Boise State.
I told Fife, hey, don't just. I talked to him yesterday. I said he threw a off-platform interception behind Jalen Cropper the other day, and then he threw another pick on an RPO in the mic from Boise. He sat in the middle and he didn't see him. So it's just little youth type of things. But and I think that Logan has potential to be really good. But Jake obviously is a very good quarterback, and that's one of those guys I talked to Crocker about. Like I think that Jake is going to have a really good NFL career, whether that's being a starter right away or whether that's being a backup right away. The guy is very intelligent and has a ton of potential. So hopefully Jake is back soon, but I cannot specify those exact things yet.
Real quick, just because we're on the topic with Jake Haener, and I want people to understand, kind of just your mind and how it works with viewing these guys, and obviously you're close with Jake Haener, but what exactly is it that you're so high on?
Jake is highly intelligent. So you want to talk about watching film, breaking down coverages. Like I've been around a lot of college athletes, a lot of college quarterbacks. There's a couple of them that I train that are doing very well. Montana State. I have their quarterback, Sean Chambers. He transferred from Wyoming, and he's balling out. He's doing like this. The quarterback world is changing. Like a lot of people got on Shanahan for running the ball so much with Trey Lance, but that's kind of where this quarterback world is going with these athletes because they're so good at being athletes. So Sean Chambers is a guy, he's broken his leg twice in college already. He had shitty luck at Wyoming. But he ran for like 200 last week and threw for another 205 total touchdowns or something, got FCS player of the week. He did it the week before. You got guys like Adrian Martinez from Clovis that's at Kansas State. He's doing the same exact things. Those guys are kind of built damn near the exact same as Trey Lance too. And we talked about it with Josh and I don't know if it's the time to do it, but I talked about the rushing stats with Crocker yesterday and how these guys are utilizing Josh. And a lot of people get on Jimmy for not making these sexy plays. And there's a couple in here that aren't necessarily, it might be this one right here, honestly. No, it's not. But there's, trust me, I want to see it too. As a fan, I want to see as a quarterback coach, I want to see, let's just throw the damn ball down the field sometimes. But the offense doesn't necessarily always require it. And sometimes it does in late in games or whatever, and by then it's too late almost, right? But, I skipped ahead and I'll go right back to this. But what makes Jay good is he's smart. The kid goes straight into we'll go out on the field. This is middle of the summer, 7:30 at night. We finish up in the stadium. Jake will take his ass straight to the film room and go watch screen game cut-ups from last year for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Like screen game cut-ups, let me tell you how boring screen game cut-ups are going to be. Your job is to get the ball to the receiver and there's one option on screen game and throw it in the ground, right? So he just like the little details. That's again, we talked about this before too. The difference between the guys that are average in the NFL and the difference between guys that are great or elite quarterbacks, and this is just athletes, I guess, not even quarterbacks, but athletes as a whole, is that they pay attention to the fine details, like the little things, whether it's the pop step stuff, whether it's the film watching. It's like, what can they do to get 1% better? They eat up the little shit. You watch these guys, these quarterbacks go out before games and they're doing towel drills on the field, right? Like they're doing their mechanics with a towel rather than a ball. And they're trying to build up that good muscle memory. Those are the things that make guys elite versus just, screw it. I'm going to go play some golf. I'm going to go bullshit today, or I'm going to go hang out with my girlfriend. And we see it all the time. And trust me, it does go to the next level because I've been around it with these guys. And at the end of the day, like there's nobody else to look at but yourself in the mirror. And you got to answer to yourself if you've made it or not. So
we got some Chase Daniel love in the chat. Chase
Daniels is a legend. To each their own. But anyways, as far as that stuff goes, we talked about it, and I'll talk about it really quick. Jimmy doesn't have to necessarily do a lot of these sexy run game things or these sexy throws down the field. And just really quick, and I'll talk about this for one brief second. The Niners in 2021, 499 rushing attempts. Josh has never had a great run game. Like not him himself, the Bills, right? They haven't had a great run game. So here's to put it in perspective for you. 499 attempts in 2021, 2,100 yards rushing, 22 touchdowns by the 49ers. The Bills had 461 attempts, 2,200 yards, 20 touchdowns. Take away Josh's attempts, okay? Josh had 122 rushing attempts in 2021 for 763 yards, 6 touchdowns. If you take away Josh's rushing attempts, or Josh's rushing that year, they rank 30th in the NFL, okay? The Bills do. They rank 30th. 2021 gets even better. Niners, 437 attempts, 1,900 yards, 19 touchdowns. The Bills, 411 for 1,700 yards, 16 touchdowns. Josh had 8 touchdowns of those 16, and he ran for 102 rushing attempts. That rates them, without Josh, last place in the NFL. So what I'm getting at is
he accounted for every touchdown this year, rushing and passing, 5 games into the season. I'm pretty sure he
probably has. Yeah, he might have. So I went back and looked. Like Devin Singletary was the first 100-yard rusher since he did it in 2019. They ran for 100 yards against the Falcons back in January of this year, and this past season. He hadn't done that since 2019. And I've always said this. I think the Bills are a very, very solid running back or run scheme away from being like the team to beat for the next however many years. And I think that the proof is in the pudding. You can't tell me you go play the Miami Dolphins, not knocking McDaniels. Josh had to throw the ball 63 times that game, and you lost 63 times. And you put up 19 points or whatever the hell it was. I forget. But they lost 21. I think it was like 19, 21, 18, whatever it may be. But he has to make those plays with his feet. That's the difference between him. Obviously, there's a ton more. But Jimmy has a run game behind him. And that's what I've always said, too, is like, dude, the run game is so good. If Jimmy just did a couple things a little bit better, this team wouldn't be losing. This team would have won 3 Super Bowls already. And it's not necessarily a knock on him completely, because you go back to the Rams game, right? Everybody wants to knock Jimmy for the shit at the end of the game. Well, if somebody makes an interception catch the drive prior, the game's probably over, right? And there was a clip where the kicker from the Cardinals was getting absolutely roasted, right? Everybody wanted to wait in the locker room. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I did.
And the lineman came in, or one of the players came in there and started going off on the media and saying, "This is not one dude. This is not one dude. It's not one dude." And I try and get that across, because it's really not. Like, everybody wants to say Jimmy this. When I talked about that dig route with Debo earlier, Debo goes and drifts 4 yards into the safety. That's not helping Jimmy out, but it makes Jimmy look like shit on TV, right? But those things are all talked about at practice. It's not a one-man thing. And there's a couple clips in here where you see the O-line. It's like, dude, if he had more time to do something, he probably would have been able to do something, but instead it looks like shit on him. So I got a little bit long-winded with some of those things, but anyways, to wrap that up, let's go ahead and get into the next clip here. I forget which one this is. Okay. Yep. I see it right here. So this is perfect timing. We talked about the sexy stuff from Josh. This is, and I put this on here. This is that 4th and 4 play. He ends up throwing like that little comeback outside. He gets pressure from the backside. He ends up bailing out. So one high safety look here. Okay. But you watch Jennings run across the middle here. So Jimmy, and let me back it up here really quick and I'll explain this. So they sim blitz. Okay. So look at 55 right there in the middle. He's right over the center. He's playing. It looks like he's in the one right there. Okay. It's a sim blitz. Jimmy's got his eyes where it should be. If that guy comes, Jimmy hits George Kittle on a 5-yard in route. The chains are moving. Boom. Money. That's where this is the progression right here. Okay. So go ahead. Boom. He bails late. Jimmy sees it. Okay. Now it's screwed. Nobody's open yet. Right. So it's screwed. So Jimmy's like, shit, 4th and 4. I got to try and make a play happen. And so he gets out of there. Okay. At that rate, he probably, because it looks like Jenny runs a bender and he bends it inside of that play side safety. If Jimmy snapped his eyes there quickly, he probably would have hit him. But again, let's talk about circumstances. It's 4th and 4. Okay. We watched it happen last night. What happened on 4th and 1 with cover 0? Derek Carr goes and throws the ball. These guys collide. Boom. When you go back and look at the tape I watched earlier, he's got, I forget, number 10 streaking across or running up basically.
Right.
Yeah. He runs a drag route across the field. He's got separation from the DB. If he dumps it off to him over the middle, the game would have still been going, but he takes this deep shot on 4th and 1. Lamar Jackson did the same thing. Now we're talking about Lamar Jackson, who's about to get a huge amount of money, right? Who I would say is an elite football player. Lamar Jackson threw 3 deep balls the other day that were incompletions. And one of those ones was on 4th and 1. And the guy on one of those places, other receivers open underneath to move the chains. And you watch Lamar go to the sideline and got absolutely reamed by Harbaugh for throwing the deep ball and it wasn't completion. If you take a deep shot, most coaches right here, you know, it's 4th and 4. If you take the deep shot, trust me, it better be a completion because the coach is going to be on your ass for throwing it downfield when you had something underneath. Now, he didn't have something underneath. So in his thought here, in a quarterback's mindset, realistically, 4th and 4, you're not even thinking the deep ball. Because you know, it's a low percentage throw realistically at the end of the day. So you're going to try and work in. What's that?
What about Josh Allen?
It's different, right? Those guys are in a different category.
Like
we talked about the top 5 guys. We talked about the top 5 the other day. Those 5, you get Josh, Mahomes, Rodgers, let's say Tom Brady. Who is the 5th one? Who's your 5th?
Herbert or Lamar?
Okay, Herbert or Lamar. And I still think those other guys from a passing perspective, I'm not knocking Lamar by any means. But from a passing perspective, arm talent-wise, I think they're a little bit above Lamar.
You're definitely racist, but go ahead.
Here we go. Right, there's no winning with Croc. Croc don't want to see him be great. But anyways, those guys those are the exceptions. Right. And this is one of those plays. And that's why I circled it. If this was a Josh or Mahomes, I think this is what everybody's kind of starving to see a little bit. Like, let's play on the fly and see what happens. Geno Smith, you could put Geno up there. He's playing lights out right now. Absolutely. Croc said he's going to take Geno Smith over every person in the league. He told me that early on the phone, including
his ex-teammate.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
he probably fought him in the locker room like
Draymond
Draymond too, and he got his ass whooped.
I do want to say something about Geno. Because I was there, right? So little insight on just my time there, kind of what I saw early on, right? It's not like I was there all year, but I did see a guy that it looked early on to be kind of overwhelmed. And now listen, I'm overwhelmed. He's overwhelmed. Like most guys, rookies, you're overwhelmed, right? There's a lot of information that you're trying to take in and whatnot, but I think he had an opportunity over the years of, being a backup to just sit and digest it and learn about himself, learn about, just the game, what's being asked of him, how to prepare, sit behind guys like Russell Wilson for some years and see how Russell Wilson prepares. And then, in turn, the extremely gifted quarterback that Geno Smith was when he was drafted, right? Extremely. I mean, you watch the West Virginia offenses, like they were going crazy, right? But all the tools and intangibles that he had, I think being a backup for so long gave him the opportunity to, again, just learn more about what to be asked, how to prepare, and all those things. And now you see him a little bit more ready for this opportunity in a much better situation than his rookie year and stuff with the Jets. Because again, I know those I remember those receivers. Right, his best receiver probably Clyde Gates or something. I don't know. Right? It's not like it was any special. So now you got DK, you got Tyler Lockett, and he's been sitting behind Russell Wilson. He understands the offense. He knows he's better prepared. And then now you see a better version of Geno Smith, and we're seeing him play lights out. But this is not a guy that didn't have the talent. I think he just had to figure it out. And I think
what I like about Geno too is I think that he showed up when he needed to, because that was clearly an open quarterback competition, and he clearly won the job. Like that, you got a young gun behind you that is, the pretty boy that's just coming over from the Broncos, and he just flat out, there you go. He flat out won the job, and Geno Smith is playing lights out right now. I will give him credit for it. Like, given what he's done, I'm not saying against the 49ers, but, and he didn't even, I don't think he did terrible, but they were on his ass.
Like 3 incompletions.
They were on his ass anyways, So, but Geno does a lot of good stuff, and he dropped some serious dimes the other day, like way deep balls. Are like, holy shit, moonshots. So it was killer. But anyways, go ahead and touching on this really quick, and we can get past it. I think this is what people are striving to see out of Jimmy, is just pull one up. Like, just pull one up and say, screw it. I'm going to chuck one down the field right now. Instead of looking to the flat, the safe throw, let's just throw it down the field and see what happens. But I know why he did this. It's 4th and 4. He's not really looking for the deep ball. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be looking for the deep throw when it's 4th and 4. Again, some people could say, hey, Derek Carr's a better thrower than Jimmy Garoppolo. That's fine. Well, did Derek Carr win the game last night when they had an opportunity, when it's cover 0 and you check to a scissors route or whatever the hell it may be on the top and you overlooked the 5-yard underneath route? That's just boneheaded stuff. If you really, in all reality, that's a boneheaded play to me. Yeah. That's not a great concept. And you go ahead and look from a timing perspective, you had press coverage on Devontae up top, and they're playing off and soft at 6 to 7 with that other safety. Okay. So now Devontae has to beat the press. The timing screwed up on this scissors concept anyways. If it was free release,
I think it was a go route
or whatever it may be, whatever. I looked at the press coverage. I looked at the check stuff at the line, and then I kind of just went past it because I was like, what, this is stupid anyways. But I went and looked at the under route, and I'm like, the under route's what, he's trailing, the DB's trailing, but you have to beat the press on cover 0. And you went and threw the deep ball. And I know why he did it, because he did it early in the game. He literally took the deep shot, but he underthrew Devontae by a couple yards early in the game for the first touchdown and ended up winning on it. But 4th and 1 at the end of the game, and that's the throw we're going with? To me, that's just as bad as the Texas A&M comeback bullshit at the front pylon the other day. I was like, what are we doing? This is all we got for this? Like, we came this far just to do that? That's my take on it. But this is one of those things where it's like, what I wish Jimmy sometimes would just yank one up and say, screw it, and chuck the ball down the field. But he never really does it.
He does do it a couple of times in this game, and this is one of those plays right here.
Yeah. So this is what I had written down here. This is that 50-50 ball. This is at cover 0. Okay. So it's cover 0. And if for the people at home watching, cover 0, that means there's nobody deep. There's no deep shell. It's man coverage. In this situation, it's going to be empty protection. So the line knows there's no running back in the field or in the backfield. Jimmy knows there is no running back to help protect. He's going to have to get the ball quick, because in this case right here, with everybody covered with the defense covering everybody on offense, they can bring up to 6 max. If you brought 7, one guy's going to have to be uncovered. And typically, as a receiver recognizes, let's say the slot the slot corner there blitzed off the edge, it would be Jimmy's responsibility to recognize the spot or the slot corner blitzing, and Ayuk would then basically just sit and replace where he just came from, and Jimmy has to get that ball out. But typically, I would say Jimmy would have hit Debo on the top. Most times you would see Jimmy hit Debo right on top there. That's Jimmy Garoppolo prime. I'm going to hit Debo on the easy route up top. That's a little pick play. Easy completion for Jimmy, right? Especially against zero, probably a good look. I think Jimmy, you know what, like.
So real quick, because when I just paused it right there because I just saw it.
Yeah.
This is my first time seeing it. When I screen grabbed it, I'm looking at the concepts at the bottom and kind of what's going on. I see Ayuk and I'm like, that's taking too long versus zero blitz. But do you think there's a little bit of inconsistency with where his eyes kind of are? Because there's some of these plays like the use check play where it looks like it's designed for him to get the ball. And then I have no idea.
No, I think up top, like realistically, I think it's a design pick play. And if you look at the end zone view, Jimmy's not looking at Coleman until last second, which I wrote down. The fact that Jimmy even got this shit off to Coleman and threw how he did, watch his eyes how late he gets back to Coleman here. He's not even looking there. He just turns and throws it.
I think he's looking at Kittle.
So he's looking across the middle. Again, maybe he liked the matchup. Kittle on the safety. I don't know. Kittle on the safety a couple years ago, I probably would have taken it. Until further notice, I don't know if I'm going to take the matchup.
Do you think maybe he's looking to see if either of those guys come free because a blitzer does come, kind of like what you were talking about?
I think that if you should know realistically as a quarterback, and again, I don't know what he does and doesn't because I haven't been in the room with him. You know they can bring 6 with everybody. If they brought somebody from depth, there's going to be a free guy open now. So they got on his ass quick. He gets rocked. He throws a freaking dime. I think, and my take on it, I think that Jimmy's been hearing everybody talking some shit about him. So he says, fuck it. I'm just going to throw a ball up the sideline so everybody can kiss my ass. And I'll show everybody that I'm going to throw a deep ball down the field. So I think Jimmy's just been paying attention to the Twitterverse a little bit. He says, screw it. I'm going to chuck this one up down the sideline here. But no, at the end of the day, great throw, 50-50 ball. And he does it again to Ayuk. And I think I had that play written down as well. But it's just a solid ball. Like the fact that he got that ball out. And when I said elite earlier, I'm not saying that Jimmy G is in a category of elite company like Tom Brady and Josh and Mahomes as far as arm talent, but it's proven Jimmy gets the ball out of his hands faster than 99% of quarterbacks across the league. And that's what I said. He has elite hand speed. The fact that he was able to get this ball out of his hand that quick, that's pretty incredible. So I'll give him props for that, man.
Wow,
but yeah, it's not easy to take a shot like that. When you go ahead and throw a ball, and I've obviously been in this situation, when you throw a ball like this and you're completely exposed and you get rocked by a D lineman, it does not feel great.
I think that's why his teammates mess with him, like for him to hang in and make that.
Yeah, like he takes a lot of shots. He does. He takes a lot of freaking shots, man. And this was a bad one here. So everybody, we talk about again wanting the deep shots. Let's get the deep shots. Kyle doesn't throw the deep ball. This is a deep shot call here. This is a 3-man route concept. Okay, what they're trying to do in this circumstance. They got a free safety down the middle of the field. He's playing center field. They have Debo down here to the flat. They're trying to get Debo to work the flat defender. So go ahead and circle. Is that Shaq Thompson right here? Shout out to Sacramento.
Well, I want to know, is this?
No, we're going to touch on that, Croc. We're going to.
Why is Mike McGlinchey looking at the quarterback?
That's what I had. This is exactly what I have written down here on all my notes. I got full pages of notes here. I have McGlinchey. This is why we're going over this route here. Okay, he's the basis of this whole thing. But what they're trying to do is basically pull the flat defender. They do that with Shaq Thompson. The free safety.
I can't focus because McGlinchey. Did you watch?
No, we're gonna. I'm telling you this. We're not even going over this. We're not even going over this for the route.
My bad,
the routes themselves. We're going over this because I want to show people the protection here. Okay, right. So they're trying to pull. Ayuk is going over the top, right? This is a shot over the top if it works. He can throw the shot over the top, but really what they're trying to do is get Kittle open and throw the ball around in between the 40-yard line and the hash. Okay. Jimmy doesn't even have an opportunity to do that. So they're going to try and get that ball down here. Now, that safety that's buzzed down, basically just playing cover 3. That safety that's buzzed down gets his eyes to Kittle right away, and he basically matches on him. So that's another thing that people got to understand too. Just because things are, and you know this because you play defense, just because people are, or just because a coverage is necessarily cover 3 doesn't mean that it's going to be cover 3 all the way through the whole play. After about 5 to 6 yards, it basically becomes match coverage in the NFL. If people just played it as cover 3, this shit would be wide open, and it wouldn't even, like in high school, dude, this would be wide open. College is probably going to be wide open, right? NFL, it changes a little bit. He gets his eyes on Kittle, nothing's open. Go ahead and go to the end zone camera for me. This is a play action pass, 7-man protection. Okay. 7-man pass pro. That's a full slide to the left. The running back's going to stay in. He's going to work inside out. Okay. So go ahead and pause it right here. We're going to full slide to our right as we're looking at it. Okay. Play action, 7-man protection with the running back here. I think it's Dwelly that stays in. Kittle's out on a route. So pause it real quick. They basically do this little combo blitz here, or like a dual blitz. Again, there's a ton of different terms for this. But if you watch pre-snap, look at number 55's depth, and look at 57's depth. That right there tells me they're probably doing something, right? Somebody's going to wrap. Somebody's coming. 55's coming, or they're probably wrapping, and they tip their cap on this. So 55 is going to go underneath, and 57's going behind him, and they're basically just going to wrap or stunt, whatever, again, you want to call that. So as they do that, go ahead and pause it right when they start to engage. Right? No, go back. Yeah, that's not a great look. So 57 comes. Okay. Yeah, this is what I want to show people. Okay. So we're talking about taking a deep shot here. Kyle dials up the deep shot. Let's take the ball down the field a little bit. Well, it's pretty hard to do, and I'm not saying this always happens, but it's pretty hard to take a damn deep shot. When you got McGlinchey that's engaged, you got center help and then the running back help. So he says, screw it. I'm going to try and take 2 for 1. Not only does he try and take 2 for 1, but he whiffs and doesn't get anybody. So let the full play go ahead and go and watch it. Whiff. Done. If he would have just stuck on his guy for his regular protection, stuck on 99, and let the running back do his dual read inside out with center help, we are completely protected. Jimmy can slide in the pocket and try and make a play. But it's completely thrown off because of the fact that McGlinchey just tries to go 2 for 1 and whiffs on both. So, yeah, this is one of those ones. This is it. You're laughing about it. I didn't write this down because of Jimmy. Jimmy doesn't do a damn thing right. I mean, it's a screwed up play from the beginning because the protection is blown. That's why I had this one written down. So the center, yeah, he miscommunicated. He's stuck on the center's going to help with the guard on the play side or the front side there. So he'll help. And then he picks up. I'm sorry. I was looking at the guard there. Go ahead and back it up. It's the play side guard that looks miscommunicated. So the play side guard helps out with the center. And then, like I said, they stunt for a reason. That's just a great defensive play call there. They stunt. And they bring 57. The guard picks him up late, but he does have running back help again. So this is kind of like a flashback right there to the Broncos game. I think it was just a good defensive call, and they ended up working out for them.
I do want to make note that McGlinchey also didn't help Jimmy up like he didn't help Lance. Let's just be clear about that.
You know what? And I don't want to. I really don't want to gas up McGlinchey. I just thought he had so much potential coming out of Notre Dame. And being under Joe Staley, and like he was like Joe Staley's little brother. That's how it was presented to us. This is going to be the next Joe Staley, right? And it's like, dude, again, we talked about it. You're going to wear the crossbar. You better be a damn dog on the O-line. Like just gritty dog on the O-line. And I really don't see it that much. I don't from Mike McGlinchey. So hopefully there's some changes. I'm not saying, hey, send the guy packing, but I don't know. Maybe he needs to move inside. He's so damn big though. This was that touchdown here to Debo. Again, people overlook this, and I circled this one for a reason. I didn't have to show it because it was a touchdown. I think people overlook this because it's just an in route and an in breaking route. We see it a lot. But one thing Shaq Thompson's flat-footed right there, okay? And he's right in front of Deebo Samuel. Nobody else is open, by the way. Nobody else is open. So if you want to say Kittle's open on the bottom, you're batshit crazy, but because by the time Jimmy throws the ball, it's probably 6 the other way. Okay, so nobody else is open on this. He looks to the middle and throws that ball with anticipation as Shaq Thompson is sitting there flat-footed right in the middle of the field and throws Deebo Samuel open. And I think this is killer because, you know, this is like one of those Peyton Manning plays, right? It's overlooked, but it's like, damn, that was good because it's anticipated. And that's the difference between, again, younger generation quarterbacks versus vets. Getting the ball out of his hand quickly. He gets frontside pressure from 97. Is that McGlinchey just getting absolutely manhandled right back? Yeah, it is. Of course. There you go, right there. Right into the pocket. And Jimmy, quick hands, boom. He gets the ball up, and he sees Shaq sitting, throws his guy open. And at the end of the day, sometimes you, as a quarterback, you got to trust your dudes to make plays. And that's what Deebo does right here. And I think this is again, Jimmy doesn't even have his feet squared up to make that throw. Like we talk about as quarterbacks, you try and make straight line throws with your feet. So Jimmy's stepping left here a little bit. So his hips and shoulders are open. So he has to make this throw with a little bit more arm than his hips rather. And you watch his hips don't even get back to square. So he's throwing this with all arm, anticipating, seeing where he wants the ball to go and letting Deebo Samuel make a play. I think that's a really good ball. And again, go ahead and rewind it. You talk about elite hand speed. Watch how fast he gets this ball out of his hands. He gets frontside pressure and the ball is out so damn quick. This is really good quarterback play from him.
And I think that's a play, to be fair, that Lance probably tucks it and tries to run through that.
Yeah, like I think that's
right?
and not just Lance. I think a lot of guys probably would
yeah.
that are that age group, right? Instead of experience, that it gets a little bit hairy in the middle. Shaq's right there. He sees Shaq flat-footed. Deebo's on the move. Let's throw him open and see what happens. It's a good ball. I really like it. So, yeah, McGlinchey, is he coming off a quad injury? Did somebody say that?
From last year.
Oh,
that was the injury last year, right?
From last year. So I don't know. I think that, you know, there's going to be some things with McGlinchey that people are going to be talking about into the offseason. I don't know how many years he has left on his contract either. You guys probably have this is it
right now.
Yeah, there you go. So
there you go. We got some super chats here. So love that Jess is here for these Jimmy facts. Been telling everyone the same stuff for months. Haha, just playing. Appreciate all you dudes. Appreciate you. Appreciate you,
Flav. If you're a member on my channel, I did a breakdown on the same stuff, and it's similar sentiments. So yes, I think Jimmy played really good this game.
Yeah, and here's the thing with this.
Niggas a bum.
See, I always tell Crocker that. Crocker comes on these podcasts and says, I like Jimmy, and then he calls me up on the phone and tells me Jimmy's trash. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't do that. He actually shows Jimmy a lot of love on the phone, and I get on these podcasts. I'm like, Croc, I got receipts, man. Come on now. No, but I think here's the problem. This is where the questions lie. And again, everybody wants to gas him up. In reality, Jimmy's a backup quarterback playing this year. He's just a backup. Everybody gonna roast the backup, and I'm gonna make that the running little bullshit this year because in reality we're talking about a backup quarterback, not a starter anymore. This is a backup we're getting on. But anyways, it's just got to continue. This consistency has to continue, right? If you're gonna throw the ball across the middle and make these plays across the middle, let's let it continue. Don't make the stupid throw to the robber safety. Don't make the stupid throw to the buzz safety that's coming down to cover 3 or get caught up in the middle too much. And if you do look, a lot of the plays are very similar. And I don't know if this is, again, we talk about, is it Kyle or is this Jimmy? Is it Kyle or Jimmy? A lot of these route concepts are across the middle. They're built the same a lot of times, little pick plays, little mismatch stuff. And Tom Brady did the same shit. He just didn't make as many mistakes sometimes, right? But it's like watching him 2.0 when Jimmy G came to the Niners from the Patriots and dialed up for 5 weeks in a row and win after win after win. And then he ends up beating the Jags, who had that stacked defense that year, and ends up beating the Steelers in the playoffs. And I thought the Steelers were going to win the Super Bowl that year, and the Jags ended up beating them. Jimmy ends up doing that comeback drive at the end of the game. It's like, holy shit, we're watching Tom Brady 2.0. Like literally, it was like work the middle of the field all the way down the field. And he's literally been the same guy since. And you talk about sitting behind somebody. Yes, he sat behind Brady for multiple years and watched him do it. Brady didn't throw a ton of balls outside the hashes in New England because he had Edelman and he had Gronk and he had Amendola working the inside a lot. And I think that's kind of how this offense is built. But when shit hits the fan, where do you go with the ball when it's not open in the middle? And that's where we need to see some smart decisions being made, either to take the sack, which Brady did take a lot of sacks too. He wasn't taking off on the run and trying to make things happen. And you know what? While we're on it, talking about Tom Brady, Jimmy G got his ass knocked down multiple times the other day. And I'm thinking, dude, Tom Brady got this weak ass passing or roughing the passer call. Jimmy G threw a screen route the other day and gets shoved down to the ground on his ass, rolls backwards. I'm like, dude, they would file a freaking police report if that happened to Tom Brady. Like there's the shit that the differences that you see between Brady, the calls that he's getting, and I played quarterback. Brady's like, I train quarterbacks for a living, 50 to 60 quarterbacks a week. I could not think of one quarterback, and even if I asked the pro guys, one quarterback that would say that was roughing the passer. Not one. That's playing football at the end of the day. It's gotten way too soft. The calls are way too inconsistent. It's a crock of shit. Like watching that the Derek Carr one last night. Why do you have to say
that? Why do you have to say it's a crock of shit? Why can't you
right at you when
say
I said
something else?
I was looking right at you when I said it.
Good play on words.
No, I think I do. I think it's shitty that those calls are happening. In it's something that's it's way too inconsistent. Way too inconsistent. And you want to talk, somebody mentioned it earlier. If you didn't have Tom Brady as the number one quarterback all time, would you have Joe Montana? Absolutely. But I think that when you really start to break it down, especially these days, I think it's got to be generational, because if Joe Montana was playing in today's age, he'd probably still be playing with the rules and the way that quarterbacks are looked after. Steve Young would have played for 10 more years, right? Like these guys are getting just cake shit called rough and like yesterday, Pat Mahomes, they wrap him up, forward progress is stopped, whistles blown. He doesn't even get taken down. Back in the day, those dudes are getting body slammed, spit on, no help up, get your ass up with shitty helmets. Like it's way different these days. The quarterback play, or how they're treated, is way different to what it was in the 70s, the 80s, and into the 90s. So I think really when you talk about the greatness stuff, you got to talk about the generational greatness. But yeah, I would have Joe Montana, and I'll fight that one to the grave. So
that Brady one was similar actually to Tua, except for Tua at the end, they whipped him down, and that's how he got that second concussion. So to me, like if you're not calling the one for Tua, you can't call that for Brady. That was terrible.
Yeah, and honestly, it's sad, but as good as our defense is, it makes me nervous half the time when I see these guys get in the backfield. Like Bosa's basically got to just set him down on a freaking pillow. Like with Matt Stafford, when they sacked Matt Stafford, and I don't even know if they got a roughing the passer call, but if I'm completely surprised that they didn't get one roughing the passer call based off of how often they were in the backfield on him. Honestly, it's sad that you even think of it, because it's football at the end of the day. And I think it's so babied, watered down to the quarterbacks now. It's tough to watch, even as a quarterback. Like I just, whatever. It is what it is. So,
hold on, I got
Jesse got a lot of fans in here, man.
Yeah. So Jesse,
I'm sure there's plenty of hate too.
Right.
Trust me.
How are the in-laws treating you? And appreciate you for loving the show.
Yeah. Actually, in-laws left yesterday, so we're in the clear. No, I love my wife's family. I truly do. in case they're watching.
Hey, I've done the whole in-laws thing, man. I've lived with my in-laws. My father-in-law passed away a couple years ago, unfortunately. But before that, I did live with my in-laws while our house was being built. And yeah, it's great. Mother-in-law cooks great food, but then there's those times where you're just like, damn, man, I just want to be by myself. You know?
Right.
And I know what Crocker's thinking. He's thinking all activity. That's all Crocker's thinking. I'm just talking about from a space perspective. Sometimes you just want to go click on the Niner game or click on a football game by yourself and rage at the TV, or be happy and excited without anybody bothering you, right?
You just want to pound some cheeks in peace. I feel you. All right.
That's exactly what I knew. Yeah, my point.
Nine again. Wolfcast says, would you prefer Jimmy G traits or more of a deep passer? Can I give my advice on this?
Go for it.
I think now people make it seem like you have to have one or the other, and I feel like between that and the mobility of quarterbacks, they're coming in and they're just able to do all of those things. Like I don't think it's you got deep ball passer or somebody that can work over the middle with Jimmy Garoppolo traits, and it's like, well, these quarterbacks you don't have to pick because they can do it all. Like Zach Wilson can do it all. And Trey Lance, we broke down Trey Lance's film, and I think there's certain narratives about Trey Lance, but when we watched it against the Chicago Bears, what did it look like with the throws that we were talking about? There were plays over the middle. He stepped up in the pocket. He's making throws. Third down. He's throwing outside the number. Like, he was doing good things. Now, again, you want to see more consistency, but I think people they think that you have to choose. Like, you want this or you want, and I'm like, well, these guys are coming in. They're able to do it all.
I think that if you want Jimmy G traits with a deep ball passer, go ahead and look at the Falcons offense when they that year they lost the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan kind of showed a lot of that, but that offense was predicated around, he had a couple of running backs, but he also had Julio Jones on the outside. And we talked about that before too, Croc, where I would love to see the Niners add a 6'3", 6'4" monster, 6'5" receiver outside that could bail Jimmy out of some shit when things happen. I would love to see a crisp. Ayuk is pretty good. Debo is a football player. That guy is ridiculous to watch. He's a great football player. But again, you go watch his route running. It's not the smoothest, sexiest routes like a Stephon Diggs or Keenan Allen or Devontae Adams. It's not crisp like that. He's just a football player and finds ways to make plays. But give me a dude like a DK Metcalf. Give me a dude like a Julio Jones, Mike Evans, a strong-handed, big-time wide receiver that when shit hits the fan, I'll throw the damn thing in the air. And I know they probably have a 70% chance of coming down with it. It makes a big difference when you have a dude like that versus, and people are going to say Jennings. That's fine. But the offense is not, as it is not shaped for that right now. Maybe it will happen when Trey Lance is out there. But again, Kyle Shanahan says, hey, Jimmy G's got one of the best arms in the world. Well, like I said, show me the damn thing then. Let's see it. If he really does, let's see it. Let's open it up. But the Niners have, for a long time, have not been this, let's score 40 points and we're going to give up 28 points and win the game. The Niners are we're going to pound the rock and keep the clock ticking and make these plays on third down. And that was the biggest thing the last couple of weeks. Their third down conversions again versus the Broncos game were way higher. You run the ball solid, clock keeps moving, third down's converting. Okay, now we're winning games. And that's how the Niners have kind of been shaped for as long as I can remember. Even with Frank Gore. Look back to Alex Smith and Frank Gore. Even with Kaepernick, they weren't airing the ball out down the field. They did throw deep balls, but it wasn't this, we're going to take 10 deep shots a game, right? And so I think if you look at Matt Ryan and what they did with the Falcons, that's kind of what Jimmy G would be with as a deep passer. That's kind of my take on it. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
I'll say this about I think deep balls are a bit overrated because even the quarterbacks that complete a lot in the league, they complete like 13 to 17 a year. It's not a big part of the game. To me,
more than that. Depending on what you think of deep ball.
I think that
I'm saying like 40 plus air yards.
Well,
no.
I think it's 20 plus.
80%.
I understand.
87%. I think it was a couple of years ago. 87% of completed passes were under 18 yards or 20 yards or less. in the NFL, across the NFL.
Right. And technically I understand 20 plus air yards, but most people, when they think of a deep ball, they're thinking go routes, 50, 60 yards downfield. It's such a small percentage of the game. For me, I just want a quarterback, if either a guy that's going to protect the ball a ton, right, which is where Jimmy should fit in, or a guy that if he's not going to protect the ball, I want him to have a power arm. And throwing deep doesn't show power to me. I want a guy who, off his back foot, far hash to outside the numbers, 15 yards downfield, can make a power throw. That's what I want in a quarterback, and is a little bit mobile. And so it just comes down to preference. But to me, a true, like a deep ball, when you think of just airing it out, that doesn't happen a lot in the league. It really is few and far between.
No, yeah, there are low percentage throws. They're dial up plays, low percentage completions. Russell Wilson used to do it. I mean, he'll throw a couple deep ones here and there, but he did it a couple of weeks ago. Like, how many of those are completed? Yeah, it looks great in the air because it travels 50 yards. But Joe Burrow did the other night, taking deep ball shots when you got shit underneath. It's like, you got to weigh those things out. Like, are those guys better on talent? Probably. But do they make the greatest decisions all the time? Nah, not really. But anyways, Colts, Commanders, Panthers. We'll all trade the starting QBs and pick for Jimmy right now. So he's lucky he's still here. I think, hindsight's 2020. I mean, they thought they had their guys. I think a lot of people probably said, hey, we'll take Carson Wentz over Jimmy G. He's got a bigger arm.
Well, I think Jimmy was actually the Commanders' first choice, but then he had to get the surgery.
And I'm also curious too. I'm also curious because, and there's all these rumors with Belichick, right? When they said that the Patriots got offered a first round draft pick for Jimmy, and I think it was the Browns, right? And Belichick says, "Screw it, I'm not going to screw you over and send you over to the shit show of the Browns." Well, they took, what was it, a second? Is that what they gave?
Right.
The Niners gave for Jimmy, and they sent him over to San Francisco. Well, obviously the first round draft pick would have been a better choice, but Bill, looking out for Jimmy's like, I'm not going to send you over that bullshit. You'll be out the league in 3 years, just like all the rest of the quarterbacks they've taken the last 25 years. Maybe this was a thing with Kyle. Maybe he says, screw it. I'm not going to send you to some dumpster fire. Like, they didn't have to trade him to some dumpster fire. And maybe the offers that they got were there, but in all reality, Kyle's like, hey, I'm going to look out for Jimmy, for what he's done the last couple of years. And this is all speculation, but maybe he said, screw it. I'm not going to send you some shitbag team and watch you go to waste. I don't know. We'll never probably know those conversations, but that's kind of something that's rendered with me. So,
right. And the other thing too, though, is, to be fair, like, we haven't seen Jimmy with a organization that's burning down like the Panthers under Matt Rule. What does that look like? Like, do we expect that it looks like it does right now with the 49ers? I think that's probably a unrealistic expectation.
And again, the 49ers were shit before he showed up with the same head coach. It was not pretty. And he showed up and the game changed. And people are like, well, why are you going to pay him that much? Well, because guess what? If the Niners didn't pay him $137 or $140 million, some other team was going to pay him that much money. So you had to do it. It was fair market value. The shit was piling up, dumpster fire. And you finally got a guy that won some games for you. It's either pay him the money or go right back to square one. And that's why they did it. And I think in the long run, I think people you would be pretty stupid to say that you're not happy with that decision. I don't know what the hell you just did, Crocker.
Is he grabbing a bug, or are you making the camera?
I try to focus my camera.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
But I did see the stat there. I think everybody probably saw it in regards to the Jimmy Garoppolo, 35-15, has a 98 passer rating in his career as a starter since 1970. Nobody else has a higher rating except for Pat Mahomes. 35-15 is not bad, and I get it. Hey, we've had a hell of a defense, but we also had a hell of a defense with other people playing quarterback too.
We got a Flavin here. He says Jimmy led the league in completion percentage on throws 20 yards in 2019. To Greg's point, he had Emmanuel Sanders that year. I wonder how much is just the wide receiver. So
I was saying that year,
Jimmy, who he did, I think if I'm not mistaken, he did have the highest percentage.
I will say this:
the 49ers also took the least amount of deep shots or bottom 2 or 3.
Right.
Mahomes
And
completed as many as he attempted.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So,
that's kind of
that year, if you go back and look, and again, Niners offense is predicated, West Coast offense predicated a lot off of play action, quick game stuff. That offense that year was cranking on the ground. Absolutely cranking. I think they ran the ball almost 500 times that year for 2,300 yards, 23 touchdowns in the regular season. They were dialed. And go back and watch the Packers game. Both Packers games, they whooped their ass. They had no answer for them on the ground. So when the run game is working really well, Jimmy doesn't have to be spectacular. But the question is, when shit crumbles and the run game is stopped, or when you can't run the ball anymore and the game is in 3 minutes or less, or 4-minute offense, 2-minute offense, how does he look when when nobody's biting on play action anymore? How do you make plays as a quarterback? And that's what's really left for us to see with Jimmy. And that's what I want to see. When you are forced to be the guy and you know that the offense has to change a little bit and you got to get out of your rhythm with play action, how does shit really work?
I think we've seen it though.
We've seen the flashes of it. We have seen flashes of it. Absolutely. But we need more consistency with it.
Okay, yeah. Because I mean, I can recall off the top of my head, there was a game. Gosh, I was at a game. Was it Arizona?
Arizona, probably.
No, Falcons. There was a game I was at. I was actually a credentialed member of the media somehow. And I feel like the offense. Why is somebody calling me?
Yeah, somebody says our DBs were toast in the Super Bowl. Yeah,
I feel
there were
like
some
the
situations.
Offense, what game was it? The 49ers ran the ball like, I don't know, their leading rusher had like 10 yards or 18 yards, something crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
And Jimmy had to throw a ton. I think he threw for like 400 yards. So
he did it. I know he did do it against
those games.
He did do it against Arizona. I do remember that in 2019. I think, just to be fair, these conversations, in my opinion, we're going to have ebbs and flows of Jimmy playing good or bad throughout the regular season. Yep. None of these questions are going to be answered, and nobody's going to give an inch until we see it in the playoffs. That's the bottom line. Sure.
And
right now, playoffs. Yeah, the thing is right now the resume that Jimmy has put on in the playoffs is not a good resume. And so can he turn that around? Time will tell. And if he does, I think that's when you'll get people that want to give him zero credit will start to give him some credit because they'll be forced to. So we have to wait until that time. They're going to make the playoffs. Jimmy's going to be the starter. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that it's the same thing for me. I think regular season, you want to talk about regular season quarterbacks. Who would you take? Right? Like I would put Jimmy up there on the top 10 guys I'd probably want to take in the regular season just because of what he does well. You take him to the playoffs, like, I don't know. I haven't seen enough yet. I want to see it. Yeah, we go to the playoffs this year. Let's see it because it's going to be his last chance. I mean, barring Jimmy takes him to a Super Bowl, I don't know. And they win a Super Bowl, that's going to be a whole different offseason conversation next year.
We'll talk about that on another episode because we can keep going. We're almost at 2 hours now, and
you're right. Hey, I got one thing left for the fans. I got it for you too, Crock. Maybe Jesse. I got a trade request. I need a tight end bad in fantasy. I'm 4-1 right now. Okay, I need a tight end bad. I got Conklin playing tight end. Yes, Conklin playing tight end. But I got Breece Hall on the bench. Okay, and I know he's been going off. My two running backs right now, I got Eckler and Stevenson. Now, I got Lockett playing flex, Diggs, and Mike Evans playing receiver. I got a trade request tonight. Breece Hall, I don't know why he threw this one in there. Cordell Patterson. This is the whole scheme with Tyler Bray, his old college teammate. He got hurt, dumped him off. Right when he found out he got hurt, dumped him off, and then somebody ended up taking the trade. But Breece Hall for Patterson and Dallas Goedert, who's ranked 5th at tight end right now. Or Tyler Bray sent me a trade request. Tyler Lockett and Kareem Hunt for Gerald Everett and Brandon Ayuk.
I don't like that one at all.
I don't like that one either. I'm almost tempted to go with a Breece Hall because I need Goddard bad.
Who's your running back behind Breece Hall? Do you have anybody?
I have on the bench, I got James Conner as well. James Conner, Kareem Hunt, Adam Thielen, and Garrett Wilson on the bench. I figured I would just I would ask.
Oh, you have Kareem Hunt on the bench as well?
I have Kareem Hunt on the bench. My starters are Eckler and Stevenson.
WB Studio says get Hill from the Saints.
I bet. Good luck on doing that one now.
Hill? Where's he ranked at? Is he top 3 tight
ends
right
he
now?
was a running back last week and got like
a
million
you're talking
yards
about Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill and like 4 touchdowns or whatever.
Yeah, let me see who
he's listed at a tight end.
I saw that. Let's see. Taysom Hill. I don't know.
Cheating.
I know it is.
Okay, check this. Taysom Hill's on waivers in my league right now.
Dude, what the just do that.
But let me see if I can even get him. Where am I at on waivers? Oh, wait, no, wrong league. Yeah, I'll try and get Taysom Hill, but I don't know if it's going to work out. I'm surprised he's on waivers.
He's on waivers, then you definitely have to try
he's on waivers in both leagues I play in.
You got to try that first before you make any trades.
I told him I'm not getting back to them as far as the trades go until further notice. So let's see if I even get a chance at him. But yeah, I'll go for Taysom Hill. That's crazy.
That's insane.
34 points last week, but he got 8 points the week before. So that's my thing is Goddard is consistent with 15 to 16 every week. More bust than boom. Yeah. So that's my point. It's like, I can't go with somebody who's going to get me 8 points, 6 points. I need the 15, 16 to 20 steady every single week because I feel like my roster is pretty good.
Yeah, but if you have one running back injury and you're going through bye weeks, man, Breece Hall is going to be really important for you.
That's true.
That's a tough decision.
The Stevenson thing makes me nervous because they run 2 running backs there. That's the other thing. He's got a ton of potential. Went off this week, but then some weeks you don't know what you're getting. So.
Well, and Buddy pulled his hamstring, his running mate, so that's why he was able to go off as well. So that makes it tough too. Harris.
No, I'll have to message you. I'll let you know if I can get Taysom Hill tomorrow for cheap. And it's not even going to be necessarily that cheap. I have to drop somebody, and dropping that particular person is not. It's either going to be James Conner, Garrett Wilson, or Kareem Hunt. Adam Thielen. Those are the 3 or the 4. Those are the 5 I could drop. Conner, Hall. Obviously, he's not. I'm not dropping Hall. Thielen, Hunt, or Wilson. I made it 5-man benches in our league, so you can't bench hoard. We did it for a reason because everybody used to stack the bench on like a.
That's why Taysom Hill's available.
That's why he's available. So there's no bench hoarding.
Yeah, that's insane.
Hey, maybe I'll go get Coleman in one of my leagues. I did a pick him on Underdog the other day without knowing that Coleman was in the game, and me and Croc had a conversation like, "What the hell?" I had no clue he was even playing, man. So that changed the game.
Doing that. I mean, it's been all Wilson and nobody else getting any carries. So last week, not the game that just passed, the previous game, they have 4 running backs active against the Rams, and Wilson was the only one that got a carry. So it was like, how could you foresee Tevin Coleman getting love and then ultimately scoring multiple touchdowns?
Yeah, he's scoring points.
Flav, Jimmy needs a top 5 defense to win games, scoring 17 points a game. Not to again, I gotta get out of here. I'm tired and it's almost midnight. But we gotta see how this season goes on because I have seen a 49ers offense that was scoring 27, 28 points a game or whatever. 2019, whatever, they had like second highest scoring offense in the league. All right, so can they get back to that? What do they have to do to get back to that? We'll find out on the next episode of Crock and Panelli. All right, but until then, man, appreciate my guy Jesse sliding through to take on his nemesis, Greg Panelli. Hold up. Guys, play it again. Show me proof. Okay, guys, we're going to show proof, but it's going to have to be on another episode. I'm tired, y'all. I'm tired, all right? I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. Download the app or go to underdogfantasy.com right now. And they'll match whatever your deposit is. Just don't blow it all like Greg Panelli did. All right? But that's going to do it for this episode, man. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.